Thank you everyone for joining today. I'm going to go ahead and give it a few more minutes to let people trickle in. All right, Darby, let's go ahead and get started with introductions as we have more people join us.
All right, sounds good to me.
Well, thank you everyone for joining. Welcome back to our monthly All Things Teams and Government call series. Today we'll be focusing on the Microsoft Bookings application. For those of you that might not be familiar, it was released in GCC a few weeks ago. Currently, it is a standalone application with the ability to link in a Teams meeting to it, but the next iteration of Microsoft Bookings in GCC will include the ability to tie the app into Teams. Similar to how we did our session on shifts, you'll be able to load the Microsoft Bookings application into your side rail in Teams. So kick it off. My name is Bridget Ballard. For those of you that haven't met me, I'm a customer success manager and in state and local government. My home office is in Bellevue, Washington.
And hello, everyone. My name is Darby O'Brien. I am also a customer success manager on the East Coast. I'm based out of Reston, Virginia.
So again, for those of you that haven't seen it, or for those who may have gone in and played around with it already, this is what the Microsoft Bookings application will look like. On the big view, you'll see the calendar portal where you can see exactly who has been booked for certain services. On the mobile view, you'll also see what it looks like as an end user. Microsoft Bookings is our tool to specifically schedule appointments, or whether it's internal or external to your company. It's a quick and easy way for you to spin up a self-service portal on your own. And we'll kick it over to Darby to give us some background knowledge on bookings, and then we'll jump into the demo. But before we do that, I do want to make sure you all know exactly where to access bookings. You can access bookings in your Office 365 portal. You'll see I have it circled on the screen. Make sure you do go and click all apps when you're in your portal, because usually when you log in, you'll only see your top used apps.
Thanks, Bridget. So Bookings was created to ease the chaos that comes with scheduling, because scheduling is typically just a small portion of what you have going on in your day. It shouldn't be such a headache and take up all of your time. So booking appointments can sometimes feel like solving a puzzle of just getting the right resources at the right time in a way that makes sense. And the entire purpose of Microsoft Bookings is to help simplify some of that process. There's multiple different ways bookings can be used, and the first big decision is internal versus external, right? So you can set your bookings page to only be available to those in your organization to book appointments. So maybe it's a service provided to employees. We've got some examples here like HR, benefit election, healthcare, or maybe they're booking a facility internally. Or you can also, of course, use bookings for external appointments. So that is when your customer base is not internal to your organization. So things like legal services or a dentist visit or a client meeting, right? So that's a way to give your customers the ability to book time with you. Ultimately, there's a lot of different ways to utilize bookings. And to paint a better picture, we're going to hop into the demo here in a minute. And Bridget and I have prepared two different scenarios for you. So one is a little bit more traditional. We created a bookings page for legal services to book appointments. And then another scenario we created pertains to using bookings for capacity management in your location. So I know returning to work is top of mind for a lot of us, so we wanted to create an example that directly relates to that. So we're excited to show you, and let's go ahead and hop into the demo. All right, I'm going to switch my screen share here, so bear with me. And let's see. All right, can you see my screen, Bridget?
Yes, we can see it.
Awesome. So here is the bookings page. And like Bridget mentioned early on, the way I accessed that is I went to portal.office.com and I selected it from my list of applications here. When you open bookings for the very, very first time, if you don't have any bookings that you're currently assigned to or you're a staff member of, it's likely going to launch you to a page that looks like this. And this is also helpful for creating a new booking once you already have, but you'll select this new option here. And this is the initial card that's going to be presented to you when you first launch the app. And they just want you to give them some information about your business and what you're setting up because they help you pre-build some things. So for example, we're just creating a test here, but the business type can preload some options. So you'll see if I start to type an option here, I have some preloaded businesses in the platform already. So that's really helpful because it will help you decide on some services and help preset some settings depending on the business type. You can always go back and cancel them and delete those settings, but it's just something to consider while you're setting up. You can also, through this caret here, access other bookings pages that you might be a member of. So you'll notice when I click open, I see these other options. Here are some other ones that we have spun up. So I just wanted to point that out as well. If you need to switch screens, it's right there in that caret. So the way I'd like to run this demo is just to kind of give you a tour of all of these settings here and what goes into setting up your bookings page. But before we do that, I think it's helpful to kind of jump into what the end game is here. So let's take a look at exactly what we're building in this backend before we go through all these granular details. So essentially what we're building in this portal is a website like this. So this is the exact web page that's built from the bookings page we were just on. And this is giving your customers a very clean view to book time with you and book appointments with you. So you'll see the services that you have outlined here. We can add as many as we'd like. You'll notice that this service and this service has got this little icon next to it. That's because we added a Teams meeting to it. So as long as you've got the Teams licensing to add Teams meetings, you could send out a virtual meeting to your customers or internally. Then they can come here and select a day and a time, and they can book with a specific staff if they would like. You can also turn this off if you just kind of want it to auto select any of your staff that has time available, or they could select anyone. And then they just give some details here at the bottom. Again, all fully customized and decided on the back end. So this is what's pre-loaded into here. But if you wanted to make certain of these fields mandatory, whatever it may be, you want to add some fields, you can do all of that in the back end. So here's the end game. This is what we're trying to build through this platform. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and hop in to what this looks like in here. The first thing you'll see is your home page, which I think this bottom half of the screen gives you some helpful details into how your booking page is going, as well as at the top of the screen, you see some of these quick tips. I think they're really helpful if you're just trying to learn how to do some things. Some of them will send you to another tab, and some of them will send you to another location in the application. So, which is really helpful if you're trying to see, how do I set my business hours? When I select that option, it launches me right into the place where I set that. So with that, I'm going to start here with business information, and let's take a look. So here's where we can set up all of the details regarding our business. So our business name, if we want to add an address, a phone number, a specific email, or maybe our website URL, and the business type in our hours. So this is just kind of setting up how your business is run, just the key details to it all. You can also add a logo here, which appears on my left-hand rail and on the main page. Anything to add to that, Bridget?
No, that looks great, Darby.
Awesome. So with that, I'm going to move on and let's take a look at the services section here. So this is where I get to add in all of my offerings to my customers. So this is what appeared at the top of the screen on that end game page of the services that my customers can select. So I can always create a new service by adding it in the top right or in the top left button here. And I can give my service a name. So let's build out a demo service. I can give it a description. So this will appear to your customers if they hover over that information button on the service. They can read more about it. So if you want to add some details or a description there, that's a great spot. If you want to add a location, so maybe this is on site or maybe this is online. So keep in mind, you need to be able to send a Teams meeting link. So as long as you've got a Teams license, you can send the Teams meeting link externally, but you can make this an online meeting. So it's great for connecting virtually, especially now. We can add the duration. So how long will this meeting be or this service? I've got a ton of options here. And again, some more details here. We can create some buffer time for services. So there's certain times that customers cannot book. And then the ability to let your customers manage their appointment if it was maybe booked by you or on their behalf. So what that's doing is just giving them the ability to edit the service or cancel the service after it's been booked if it was booked by you. You can set the attendees per event. So this is going to go how much one person of your staff can take for one event. So we'll get more into this when we describe our other example, but I just want to point out that that's where that lives. We can set a price for this service in here. So you'll notice we got a lot of options here. And when you do select one, such as, fixed price or starting at, it will then prompt you to put that cost in. We could add some internal notes about this service. And then you have some more customization here. So we could modify the custom fields on our service page. So this is the customer information. So right now, all we require is email. Just to paint a better picture, this is what we're designing right now on the back end. So what do we need mandatory from the customer? Right now, we're saying all we need is the email. But what I can do is I can make any of these required, and I could add a field here and make it required. Just want to kind of paint a picture of where these changes are heading back into on your site. And then finally, some more customization here. We get to send reminders and confirmation emails, all automated. So the pre-built one is 1 day. Just a quick reminder that your service is coming up soon. I could edit this, have it say whatever I'd like, and I could add some reminders. So, maybe I also want them to get a reminder a week out or 15 minutes out, right? Whatever it may be. And I can send that message here. I could also send this message to the staff that's been assigned to this appointment. So that could be really helpful, or if you wanted to send to both, it could be helpful to notify your staff, hey, you've got an appointment coming up in 15 minutes. So just keep that in mind. I think it's a super awesome feature. We can also select for SMS messaging. I do believe, data and messaging rates will apply, but just keep it in mind if that is something you want to do or that's a way you want to communicate with your customers, you can enable text notifications. The publishing option, so this is pre-selected. This is just saying that this service is going to show up on your main page, which 9 times out of 10, I would assume, you would want it to show up on your main site so that way it can be booked. And then you have some online scheduling options here. So for the sake of today, I'm just going to stick with the default, but just to give you a look into how much customization you have here, we could show different time increments. So what this is saying is my clients can book at 4 and then at 4:30 and then at 5. I could then change this, to maybe an hour. So I only want them to be able to book in 1 hour increments, being 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, right? We have a minimum lead time for cancellations. It's 24 hours. I could change this, or the maximum lead time for booking an appointment right now is 1 year. So my clients could book a year in advance. Again, all of it can be customized, or I can decide to leave it as is and use the default settings. You can adjust the email notifications. If you want to receive a email to the business email when a booking is created. And then if you want users to choose the specific staff for their service, if not, we can deselect this and it can kind of be a free-for-all. It will assign that booking to anyone that has open time. The last thing I want to show you about a service is you can assign specific staff to that service. So what I mean by that is not everyone in your organization might be qualified to deliver this service or have this conversation. So if you want to specify exactly who your customers can book with, I can assign certain staff to this service saying, you know what, only Jordan, the administrator, and Nestor can deliver this service. And if we save that, we will see it show up here. We can always hop back in and edit it here. Anything to add there, Bridget?
Yeah, Debbie, we have a question about specific business hours. So for holidays, seasonal hours, vacations. So when you get to the calendar portion, if you could just show the time off and show how you can set the range for different working hours than what you set in the business information, that would be great.
Absolutely. Yep, we'll certainly get to that. And to add on top of that, your bookings app is already synced with your Outlook calendar and your Teams calendar. So keep that in mind. If you have time blocked on your Outlook calendar because you have an internal meeting or you have something else going on, your customers will not be able to book with you at that time. It will show as busy. That time won't even be an option to them. So keep that in mind too. It's great that these calendars are synced, and I will show you that a little bit deeper when we get into the calendar portion here. Next up, you've got your staff section here. So this is where you can add in all of your staff for your bookings page. You just add staff here with this top left button, and we can go ahead and assign them a color and add their information. If you want the staff to receive an email when a booking is assigned to them, go ahead and select that. And the big one here is what's their availability, right? Is it perfectly in line with your business hours? Great. Or maybe they're part-time or they can only work certain days. So they can come in here and adjust their specific availability, and then that will be reflected on the end page. Anything to add there, Bridget?
Nope, I don't have anything else for that.
Awesome. The other thing I want to point out for your staff is you'll notice this role. So this is less of what their role is in the organization and more of their role for this page. So you'll see Johanna and the admin are assigned administrator, and that means we can make changes to this backend page. The viewer role cannot make changes. So what you'll notice if you're a viewer is it will let you into this backend page and it will let you click around, potentially click into edit, but it will not let you save anything. So keep that in mind. You can always adjust the role if you need someone else to have the ability to edit this page. So I could come in here and make Nestor an admin. And then we would both have the ability to make changes to our site. All right. The next thing you've got here is your customer page. So this is going to automatically fill as your customers book time with you, but you can also add customers manually or import customers if you've already got a large list. Just try and follow this format here for best results, but you can import that whole file. And then you can create contacts for customers or edit current customers here. And we can just add additional information, add notes, whatever we may need to do. Anything to add there, Bridget?
Nope, Darby looks good to me.
All right. Next, we have the bookings page. So here is where we create the customization on that end page. So that is directly reflecting this page we have created here based on decisions I made here. So first things first, you'll see the ability to publish your page. If you've never published a bookings page before, the first option will be to publish, and then you can update, you can unpublish if you want to take it down while you do some work on it, etc. So all you need to do is open the published page and it will launch you into exactly what your customers are seeing. And then you could share your page on a social media site if you have a social media presence, or you're just trying to share out your bookings page, you can do that through some of these share options here. Here we see the access control. So this is pertaining to if you decide to make a bookings page internal or external. So this first option here is require a Microsoft 365 or O365 account. So that means that's internal. If I select this, external people cannot book with me because I'm requiring them to be internal to book through this page. The other option here is disable direct search engine indexing, and that's just going to make your site either viewable or unviewable by search. So if it is internal, you may not want it to be viewable by anyone in the public, so you could select this here. And you could update your data usage content if you want to put any, usage terms inside of here and have this show on the bookings page. Again, here's the scheduling policies. So this looks very similar to what we just looked at in the services section. And this is kind of creating a blanket setting option. So if you did create specific time increments or lead time for a specific service, that's going to override this. But if you just want to kind of create a blanket scheduling policy for all of your services, come in here and do it, and then that will then be the end all be all. So again, we can notify or change our email notifications here. Do we want an email every time a booking is created or edited? And we want to be able to send the customer an invite to their calendar. And we want them to allow to choose for a specific person for the booking. We can also choose our color theme here. So we've gone with green, but you can also, if you know your the colors in your logo specifically, you can make this very custom, right? We can exactly replicate it if needed. And we want to display our logo, and we've got our time zone set here. So then I could save and publish. Oops. Can save and publish here. And now our updated page is live. You'll notice if you try and leave the page before saving and publishing, it will almost always ask you to revisit. So even if I select here and I try to leave this page, it's going to notice that I made some changes, and it's going to make me decide, do I want to save and publish those changes, or do I want to discard those changes? Anything to add there, Bridget?
Yeah, I would just point out, if you go back to the bookings page, so you'll notice that the URL is Outlook as well. So if you'd like to change that, you could use a link shortener. Would recommend that, as it might be confusing for an end user to see, oh, it's on outlook.office365.com. So like how Darby and I use vanity URL links for this series, definitely a best practice for that as well.
Awesome, great call out. All right, and then that leads me into the calendar tab here. So this is a calendar view of the bookings being created. So once someone creates a booking through the end user page, they'll show up on your calendar here. These are color coordinated based on the color you picked for your employees. So this is telling you who it's booked with. This also, again, we're in the work week view, but if we switch to day, we can see these time blocks on other people's calendars. So, maybe Johanna is in an internal meeting at this time. She cannot take a client for a meeting. So Johanna will not be able to be booked from 11 to 12. So it's just things like that to keep in mind. The full integration is so nice that the calendar matches your Outlook calendar, matches your Teams calendar, because it just gives you a one-stop shop. You don't have to worry about things that were previously on your calendar or you being double booked. You can also, here through this new bookings button, create a booking for a customer. So say a customer calls in instead of visits your website and they still want to create a bookings page, you can just do it manually right here through the new booking. Pretty much the exact same process, just a slightly different view. So I will select the service and then fill out all the information here. And then the customer, you may want to let the customer manage their appointment. If it was booked by you, just meaning they can cancel, they could change the time, right? Whatever they may need to do. But just wanted to point that out as well. And then finally, the time off button that Bridget was speaking to, you can set off time off details. Maybe it is all day, or maybe it's just a certain time. We could select all the staff if this were a holiday and everyone would be off at the same time. Anything to add there, Bridget?
I don't have anything else to add. If you're ready, we can go ahead and jump into what it looks like to book because we are running short on time as well.
We absolutely are. So I'm gonna switch my screen here and let you share, Bridget.
Awesome.
So apologies if we go a little over time today. We're excited to show this to you, and it's hard to fit it all into 30 minutes. But keep in mind, it's all recorded, so you can always check out our YouTube channel and rewatch this back at any time if you do need to drop.
So this is going to be the end page that Darby was setting up in the last view. And I'm just going to walk through briefly what it looks like as an end user to book one of these. It is very easy to do for an end user, and there's only about 3 to 4 steps before you have your email confirmation in your inbox. So let's say as an end user, I'm not sure what these general meetings and the document review, what these all mean. I can click on the information button, and let's go to the, so when you click on the information button, if you leave any sort of description that you set up on your other page, you'll be able to see the description of that review in here. So this one just says 1 hour-long consultation. If when we're setting it up, we want to give some more information, we can put that in there, and the end user will be able to see it when they click on the little info button. So I know I want to do a document review, and I want it for Wednesday. And let's say that I've worked with Deborah before, so I want to work with Deborah again. And so as you can see, she's only available at these times. So Darby was showing you her calendar before, and you'll notice only the times she's available are able to be booked because it does sync with your Outlook calendar as well. So I'm going to book her for 8:30 a.m. And you'll notice too that my time is in Pacific. So it does align with whatever you have preloaded into your current services. So if you're working with people across multiple time zones, it is going to show in whatever time zone that they're in, regardless of what the calendar is set up as the admin. So Darby set it up in East Coast time, but mine is showing in Pacific. So I'm going to go down here and just put in my information. I'm using Joanna's demo, so I'm going to put her name. And I'm just going to leave a note that I want to do real estate review. So I'm all booked, and I'll get my email confirmation. And when I click OK, it takes me out to all the details of the service that I've booked. I have the opportunity to cancel it and reschedule right here, or go in and make a new booking as well. So let me just quickly show you. Let's go into my Outlook, and you'll notice that I will have received the confirmation. So in this confirmation, I have my join link via Microsoft Teams. And something I also want to point out is it comes with your iCalendar invite as well too. So I want to click on my iCalendar invite to add it to my calendar. I'm going to click add calendar up here. You'll notice this looks a little bit different as I'm in the web version of Outlook. So let me click add to calendar. And you'll see that I now have my 8:30 a.m. document review for Wednesday in there. So those are the few simple steps that it takes for an end user to book your services. Lastly, before we end, the only other thing I'd like to call out is the second use case that we built out. So we also built out one for a DMV to show how you could use this for capacity planning. So if we go into services, you'll notice that we only have one service, because when you go into a DMV, you don't pre-book anything ahead of time. You just go into the counter and then you say what you're there for. So for capacity reasons, we just want a certain amount of people to come in at a certain time. Thinking through this use case, we were thinking through in response to COVID, we could only have a certain number of people in the DMV at a given time. So let's say that your capacity is 30. In that case, we set our maximum attendees for 3. Based on how many staff that we had, 3 attendees can go to 1 staff per hour. So if you have if you have a maximum for your organization, you'll want to make sure that you're setting it how many people can be seen per staff per hour. Do you have anything else to add there, Darby? I know it can get a little bit confusing.
No, I think you explained it well. It's definitely something to think through. It's not as obvious as an example of just booking time or booking an appointment, but we just wanted to think through. There's many different unique use cases you can use bookings for. So we wanted to just provide an example of using it just to help with reopening and making sure that you were hitting new standards with COVID.
Wonderful. And so let me just show you in the calendar. So as I mentioned, Bob, Deborah, they'll only be able to take 3 people per hour. So Darby and I went and tested that in our calendar. So let me just discard the changes quickly. And then when I go into my calendar, you'll see for Monday that 3 people went in and booked in at the same time. As soon as a 4th person booked at that same time, it rolled over to the next employee. So the only time that this time slot is going to be maxed out is if all employees are seeing 3 people, or if the employees have other sessions at that time and they're unable to be booked. So the system automatically rolls people over into the next employee. You don't need to manually do that. So you'll see 3 seats of 3 booked, and I can click on that and see that Bob is aligned to all 3 of those people. So again, we just wanted to show how this could be used for, instead of appointments, capacity planning as well. So when someone came into the DMV, they could easily show that they booked online, and then they would be admitted just to ensure that you are in compliance with social distancing guidelines. So with that, we will end our session for today. Apologies for going a little bit over, but we're really excited about this service, as Darby mentioned, and we're excited for it to be soon to be integrated into Teams as well. As always, we will post the materials most likely at the beginning of next week. If you'll just give us a little bit of time to compile all the questions and get some additional resources into the slide deck, and we will be updating our website with all that additional information. Keep in mind, the link that you use to get to this live event is the same as the link to our landing page. So after this session, we'll go back and change it to our landing page, and you'll be able to see all of those resources there. So with that, thank you so much and enjoy your weekend, everyone.